Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today is Taco Tuesday.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos.
It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity yum. It's like a treat.
Yum, yum, yummity yum. Today is Taco Tuesday because we enjoy tacos on Tuesday. I know. All of you are wondering, okay, why is a show that talks about the Second Amendment and about conservative news talking about tacos? Well, if you don't love tacos, you don't love America. Let me just tell you that. It is the quintessential American food because, well, it's not what it was when it was first invented. I am quite sure. And we have taken it and done what we do with everything. We have Americanized it. We have made it our own. And now it is uniquely American. And that's why I appreciate tacos so much. There are very few things that originated other places that once they get here did not become something better. That's why we got people who came from all over the world to these United States. And as they have assimilated and become uniquely American, they have become better. And that's what we love about tacos. And I don't know what we're going to be doing for tacos tonight. My daughter hasn't let me know what she's got planned, but I am sure it is going to be scrumdiddlyumptious. What are you folks going to do? Are you going to do tacos tonight? Are you going to celebrate Taco Tuesday? If you are, go ahead and let us know in the comments section. Go ahead and let us know. By the way, if you're watching us live, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Rumble, on Twitter, go ahead and comment. Let us know what you think about the program. Let us know what you think about the various topics that we're going to be talking about today. We would love to hear from you. Also, one of the things we're looking at doing is putting together a daily kind of a newsletter. So in other words, we'll read through the news so you don't have to. We'll send you all the news about what's going on, key stuff relating to the Second Amendment, key stuff relating to conservative news, along with links, everything that you'll need in order to keep up. If it's something you would be interested in, please let us know in the comments section. Let us know, please, please, please. It's not going to cost you anything. It's going to be 100% free. But the reason I want to know is because if nobody's going to be reading it, then I'm really not interested in taking the time to put it together. But I'm open to doing it if you're going to partake. So go ahead, let us know, how would you feel about the rundown, the daily rundown, 2A News, conservative views, coming to you in your email box. If you're interested in it, let me know. Right now. How about now? Have you done it now? No? Okay. Well, folks, as you know, Mike is in Florida. He's in Central Florida. So Location Bravo is currently battening down the hatches. He is working to make sure that his community is taken care of as they prepare for Hurricane Milton, or the second hurricane in, I believe, as many weeks. So anyway, folks, so it's just going to be us today. It's going to be just the left coast. No co-host with the most. No talking about mowing the lawn every other day. Said one of the things I actually very much enjoy is I enjoy looking at all the whiskeys and all the bottles that he has on the shelf behind him. I've got my own, but see, my own are like right here. So when I don't get to see Mike, I have to look at my own. Now, I don't have as many as Mike does. And the quality is, I think depending on which shelf we're looking at, we'll tell you whether or not the quality is there. But anyway, I always enjoy that. But Mike will be missed, so I need you guys to help me out with the show. I need your comments, your commentary to go right along with my commentary. How about that? All right, folks, we got a lot to get into, so we're going to get into it. But before we do, you know what we got to do? We have to start off with a quick shout out to our sponsors. And we're going to start off with Hitman Industries, the best in rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you today. If you have an AR platform rifle, and you want to rebarrel it, go to hitmanindustries.net. If you're looking to do a brand new home build, guess where you got to start? Why don't you start with the barrel at hitmanindustries.net? Just so you know, if you are a first responder and you've never purchased from them before, you're going to get a discount at guess where? You got it, hitmanindustries.net. Check them out today. Rifle and pistol caliber barrels, including Glock barrels, available for you today. And then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives here in the great state of California, from school board all the way up to president of the United States. They are the largest and fastest growing conservative grassroots organization in the state, if not in the country. Folks, we are impacting elections, which are impacting this nation and the world. Check them out at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. If you want to be a part of California's future today, you got to join CRA. And then we've got Hog Holsters, which have the best in concealed carry tactical holsters on the market. Just go to hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com. Check out their fine holsters and buy one. When you do, make sure you use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, just like it is right up there. And you're going to get a discount on us. So go ahead, take advantage of that today. That's hogholsters.com. And then finally, as the weather is changing, you're probably going to need to change out some gear, right? Well, at hitmanindustries.net, I'm about to say hitmanindustries.net, at uscombatgear.com, you can find all things tactical except the gun. No matter what you're looking for, you will find it. They've got a huge selection. They've got phenomenally competitive prices, and they've got really, really fast shipping. Check them out today. Veteran-owned and operated, uscombatgear.com. Now that is going to cause us to get into today's stories, and today's stories starts off, well, let's just say it starts off very, very interesting. We know that with less than 30 days left till Election Day, or till we're supposed to be deciding, way more, way less. We know right now that, how do we want to put this? We know that they're doing everything possible to try and avoid Kamala Harris, to try and hide her in plain sight. They're sending her on interviews at places like Howard Stern. They're sending her places like The View. And when she goes places like that, she's going to get a very, very warm welcome. She's going to be given, I wouldn't even call them softball questions. They're literally, I mean, it's going to be like pillows tossed at her. It's going to be, there is absolutely nothing hard that they're going to ask her. And what we've seen thus far is when she did The View, she didn't get any hard questions. She got nothing but cream puff questions. 60 Minutes, not so much. In fact, it was probably, as I noted in the thing there, 60 minutes in hell for Kamala Harris, because she was actually forced to answer some real questions. And evidently, they thought a little bit more of her than clearly she actually deserved. And I give a great example. The first question I wanted to bring up was when she was asked about the border. Now, this is the first or second biggest issue on most people's minds. Everybody knows we have a problem at the border. And for some reason, Kamala Harris doesn't seem to understand how the role that she and her boss played in that problem.
I've been covering the border for years. And so I know this is not a problem that started with your administration.
Correct.
But there was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies as much as you did?
It's a long-standing problem. And solutions are at hand. And from day one, literally, we have been offering solutions.
What I was asking was it a mistake to kind of allow that flood to happen in the first place?
I think the policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem. Okay.
But the numbers did quadruple.
And the numbers
under your
today,
watch.
because of what we have done, we have cut the flow of illegal immigration by half.
But should you
we
have
have
done
cut
that?
the
Should you
flow
have
of
done that?
fentanyl by half, but we need Congress to be able to act to actually fix the problem.
All right, so let's break that down. So he asked her about the border. He's like, look, the border's always been a problem. But under your administration, it quadrupled. Now, for those of you who are not mathematicians, quadrupled means that's 4. It's 4 times greater under your administration. She says, well, we've been offering solutions. Well, the first 2 years of the border crisis, you didn't even acknowledge that there was a problem. The first 2 years, you had Mayorkas out there saying the border is secure. You went on national TV and you said the border is secure. So for 2 years, you didn't even acknowledge there was anything going on. In fact, it wasn't until Greg Abbott or Ron DeSantis started shipping illegal immigrants to blue states, to blue cities on buses before let me clarify, before it was recognized that they did it, because they weren't the first ones to do it. The Biden administration was the first ones to do it, but nobody in the media would say anything when they were flying illegal immigrants in the middle of the night. Nobody said anything when they were flying them in. But as soon as a Republican governor did it, it became an issue. Right? Then all of a sudden it became an issue. And then as it started to become more of an issue, here's the reason, and by the way, here's the reason why you started getting Democrats in these blue cities talking about it, was because it was already happening. They were already being overwhelmed by the federal government, but they didn't want to say anything because they didn't want their fellow Democrats to look bad. No one will say anything about the fact that the mayor of El Paso, a Democrat, sent more illegal immigrants to blue cities than did the governor of the very same state. But nobody said anything, right? And by the way, and this is one of the things that he pointed out, they undid 93 different executive orders undoing Trump's border policy. They created the problem. And then she's bragging about, she goes on there and she brags about the fact, well, but it's been cut in half. Now, once again, Mike's not here, so we can do math problems, right? Math problems are okay, right? So if you quadruple something, that means it's 4 times greater, right? And she just bragged about the fact that they just cut it in half. Now, maybe I'm wrong. But if you cut it in half after it was quadrupled, that means there are still twice as many people coming across the border as there were when Donald Trump was president. Am I wrong? Is this thing working? I mean, is this not making sense? It's making total sense to me. But evidently it's not making sense to her because she's just not bright enough to get it. Yeah, that's right. She's clearly just not bright enough to get it. And, it's funny because when she's asked other questions, I mean, she clearly falls apart when she's asked other questions as well. Like, for example, she's asked, okay, you're talking about these things that you want to do, how you want to spend money and, how you want to spend money and give money to people. Well, how are you going to pay for it? She just can't seem to figure out a way to answer that question.
America's economy. Small businesses are part of the backbone of America's economy.
But pardon me, Madam Vice President, the question was...
All right, hold on a second. For some reason, I don't know why that was blank over there. Here we go. Okay, let's try that again.
How are you going to pay for it?
Well, one of the things...
Okay, I don't know what happened to the video there. So anyway, she was asked the question, how are you going to pay for it? And for some reason, she was having a hard time answering that question. Let me see if I can get this video to play. I'm going to give it one more try for us to go ahead and play this video and see if we can get her on here.
Economy. Small businesses are part of the backbone of America's economy.
But pardon me, Madam Vice President, the question was, how are you going to pay for it?
Well, one of the things is I'm going to make sure that the richest among us who can afford it pay their fair share in taxes. It is not right that teachers and nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate than billionaires and the biggest corporations. And I plan on making that fair.
But we're dealing with the real world here.
But the real world includes...
How are you going to get this through Congress?
When you talk quietly with a lot of folks in Congress, they know exactly what I'm talking about because their constituents know exactly what I'm talking about. Their constituents are those firefighters and teachers and nurses.
Okay, so I apologize that you didn't see the video, but you got the important part. The important part was the actual language of what she spoke. The words which she uttered was the important part. Now, let's be clear. The top 1% pay over 50% of the taxes, or around 50% of all federal taxes. 50% come from the top 1% of income earners. The top 2%, it's closer to 60%. And like 75% of all taxes is paid by the top 5%. I don't get it. And I don't get what it is that you're talking about. What exactly is their fair share? When you consider the fact that 50% of all households actually require or get some sort of a government check, or get some sort of a government subsidy, whose fair share is what? So you're saying 1% of the people should pay 50% of the freight? I mean, or no, let me clarify. That's not enough? That's not enough of their fair share? Well, Madam Vice President, what exactly is their fair share? How much should they pay? Should they pay 100%? I mean, I want you to consider this. There are about 800 or more, about 800 billionaires in the United States of America, about 800 of them. They have a total net worth of a little over $6 trillion. Do you know how much we spent in the federal budget last year? $6 trillion. If you took every dollar of their net wealth, and by the way, that ain't cash. That's not cash in the bank. That is all of the resources, everything that they own. If you took all of that from them, you cashed it all in, and by the way, you got fair market value, you could pay the federal budget for 1 year. Then what are you going to do? See, that's called killing the goose that laid the golden egg. That's what that is. Y'all just don't get it. Some of these folks just don't. Let me clarify. She doesn't get it. And by the way, you're going to pay for it for 1 year. So then, Kamala, what are you going to do after that? Now that you've taken everything from every billionaire, now what are you going to do? Now who are you going to rob? What Peter are you going to rob to pay Paul? Because you can't make up that difference. But once again, not bright enough to understand the question, right? Then there's the whole discussion and conversation about what's going on in Israel. Now, I want to play this for you, and I want you to listen, because on this particular question, they ask her a question. Now, the first time is the actual answer, the answer that she gave. The second answer is an edited answer when you go to the YouTube channel. When you watch the answer on YouTube, this is the answer that you get. And we'll talk about why there are two separate versions when we get to the other side.
Very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
All right, did you get a hold of that? Did you see that? Of course you did. In other words, they took out the word salad and they left in the meat and potatoes. This is a woman who, once again, when she doesn't know what she's going to say, she starts answering in word salads. And what she was saying was, we're going to do what we've had to do, and we've done things that have gotten him to do what he needs to do. Whether or not he's listening to us, we're doing what we got to do to get him to do what we need to do. Do. Yeah. Anyway, folks, it was horrible. It was really, really bad. And there's a reason why she doesn't do a lot of these tough interviews. And you know what? My hat's off to 60 Minutes for at least. Let me clarify. My hat's off to the host who asked the tough questions, who didn't let her get away with not answering. And the number of times he had to say, the question was, do you know what that means when he says the question was? That means she didn't answer the question. And he's giving her the benefit of the doubt that maybe she didn't hear him, right? You know, of course, he's not going to say, were you too stupid to not answer the question? Or what he really knows is that she lacks the answers that the American people want to hear. And she doesn't have the right answers. And that's her fundamental problem with answering some of these questions. But anyway, that's that. Once again, I don't think we're going to see her doing many, many more of these interviews in the next month, because it appears to, whenever she does, just go bad for her. And it exposes her, is what it really does. It exposes her for the fraud that she is. This is a woman she's been a DA. She's been an attorney general. Anyway, I want to apologize for those of you who are watching us online. I realize that watching us live, I realize our internet connection sometimes seems to be going in and out, and so I apologize if you guys get a little bit of a drop in the program. I will tell you what I've always told you. It was as soon as we're done here, we upload the entire program over there at Spotify, and then it shoots out that and an audio version to all of the places where you can get our podcast. So want to encourage you, please do that. So if we get things like this happen, at least you can get the entire program over at Spotify. So check it out today. Go over to Spotify, look for the Rundown 2A News and Conservative Views, and go ahead and log in. Go ahead and sign up there. I want to get over here with Karen Liggett over at Facebook. She says, rich people pay for your freebies. No. Okay, I don't know what she means by no, but they kind of do. Yeah, they kind of do. Like I said, when at least from the aspect of the federal government, in the state of California, same exact thing. Overwhelmingly, the state of California, our budget numbers are dependent on high income earners or the investment class. And when they don't pay, when they don't do good, California doesn't do good. And right now we are suffering in when I say suffering, I mean our budget is suffering because we now are looking at massive deficits because the wealthy aren't doing too good, or at least many of those who are wealthy are leaving California because they tax them at such a high rate. All right, we spent a lot of time on that first topic, so let's buzz through some of these other ones. This has been a banner week, or a few days anyway, for mainstream media, because normally they just let all sorts of BS go. But now you had on the CBS Morning News, Tasahani Coates, which is he is a DEI, anti-American, pro-Hamas author, writer, commentator, who just, in my opinion, hates America. Or hates what America is and wants it to be some sort of neo-Marxist, critical race theory, utopia, whatever they want to. Anyway, but on the anniversary of October 7th, you guys know what happened on October 7th. We talked about it yesterday. He was actually called out. He came on Disney, and this was about his book, The Message, and in this book. He has some very, very anti-American, well, not anti-American, anti-Israel comments. And one of the hosts there actually called him out on it. And I wanted to go ahead and play this for you, and then we'll read a little bit from the article on the flip side about what happened.
Came out of it, took away the awards and the acclaim, took the cover off the book, the publishing house goes away. The content of that section would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist. And so then I found myself wondering, why does Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I've known for a long time, read his work for a long time, very talented, smart guy, leave out so much? Why leave out that Israel is surrounded by countries that want to eliminate it? Why leave out that Israel deals with terror groups that want to eliminate it? Why not detail anything of the first and the second intifada, the cafe bombings, the bus bombings, the little kids blown to bits? And is it because you just don't believe that Israel, in any condition, has a right to exist?
Well, I would say the perspective that you just outlined, there is no shortage of that perspective in American media. That's the first thing I would say. I am most concerned always with those who don't have a voice, with those who don't have the ability to talk. I have asked repeatedly in my interviews whether there is a single network, mainstream organization in America with a Palestinian American bureau chief or correspondent who actually has a voice to articulate their part of the world. It is not a treatise on the entirety of the conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis.
But if you were to read this book, you would be left wondering, why does any of Israel exist? What a horrific place, committing horrific acts on a daily basis. So I think the question is central and key, if Israel has a right to exist.
So, once again, so this is the article over at Fox News. It says CBS staff in an uproar, and they were in an uproar after host challenges guests' anti-Israel views. Network leadership responds. The CBS host said Coates' take on Israeli-Palestine conflict read like something you'd find in a backpack of an extremist. That's exactly what he just said, and I think that was incredibly. Well, I'm going to guess it was accurate. Having read other things, I have not read this book, but I've read other things by Ta-Nehisi Coates. I wanted to get down here. Okay. Okay, here we go. The interview prompted an outcry from some CBS staff who felt that DeKoppel pressed Coates too strongly on his anti-Israel stance. The network addressed the internal frenzy in a staff meeting Monday, which marked the one-year anniversary since October 7th massacre in Israel. CBS leadership assured offended staff members that following a review, they concluded that the interview did not meet the company's editorial standards, though the Free Press reported, which obtained an audio of the staff meeting. Adrian Rourke, who oversees news gathering at the network, told employees that covering an event like October 7th requires empathy, respect, and a commitment to truth, according to the Free Press. Quote, we will still ask tough questions. We will still hold people accountable, but we will do so objectively, which means checking our biases and our opinions at the door, Rourke reportedly said. Continuing his quote, we are here to report the news without fear or favor, Rourke added, according to the Free Press. There are times we fail our audience and each other. We're in one of those times right now, and that's and it's been growing, and we're at a tipping point. Many of you have reached out to express concerns about recent reporting, specifically about the CBS Mornings Coates last week. As well as comments made coming out of some of our correspondents' reporting. She continued, I want to acknowledge and apologize that it's taken this long to have the conversation. But not everyone at CBS agreed with the leadership's decision to appease their staff. CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford reportedly defended DeKoppel's handling of the interview, remarking during the meeting, quote, I don't even understand how Tony's interview failed to meet our editorial standards. I thought our commitment was to truth. When someone comes on our air with one-sided account of a very complex situation, which Coates himself acknowledges that he has, it's my understanding that as a journalist, we are obligated to challenge that worldview so that our viewers can have access to the truth and can have a more balanced account. Now, I agree 100% with what she said. Now, let's just be real. They don't always do that. CBS doesn't do it. ABC doesn't do it. MSNBC and CNN definitely don't always do it. But the idea is that with every story, there's different aspects of it. And what the person questioning is supposed to do is to ask questions from the other side to get them to defend. Well, people on the other side say this. Now, what's your response to that? And what he's saying here is, look, if he had said, look, if someone over at Fox News or someone at Israel had read this is what they would say. He didn't say that. He said, if I were to remove all of these things, because obviously all of these left-wing pedigree things, I know who you are, I know this, that, or the other, I'm looking at who published the book. But when I remove all those things away, all those things that would bias you in my favor, and I look at this book for what it is, it's anti-Semitic. It's Israel bashing. It's Israel hating. It's a one-sided tale. And not only is it a one-sided tale, it's a wholly inaccurate one-sided tale. All he was doing was pointing out. And once again, he said, if I strip away all the things that make me like you, that make me think, that would make me agree with you, now all of a sudden, and I look at it for what it is, it doesn't pass muster. And Ta-Nehisi admits that. He admits, that perspective is all throughout media. Well, first of all, it's not. Because you have some people in media, like obviously the staff or the management there at CBS, who wants to equate the two, who want to treat them both like they are exactly the same. That burning children alive, raping women to death, killing, specifically targeting innocent civilians, is the same thing as seeking to strategically take out people who have declared war on you and want you and your nation to disappear from the face of the planet. An enemy that, by the way, happens to be hiding behind innocent people, who happens to be using their own people as human shields. Now, I don't see how you equate. There is no moral equivalence. There absolutely, positively is no moral equivalence between the two. They are not the same. They should not be put in the same thing. And that's what DeCoppel is trying to get at. There's no moral equivalence there. So stop it. You need to stop. And thank you to DeCoppel for doing that. CBS, your staff, the ones who complained, you can go jump in a lake. CBS management, we know who you are. We know you are a bunch of weak-ass neo-Marxists who hate America. You are the reason why, part of the reason why we are having so many of the problems we have, because you do not seek truth. You're not interested in truth. You're interested in your truth, in advancing what you believe to be your truth, not the truth. Because the truth is a little bit of your truth, a little bit of my truth, a little bit of his truth, a little bit of her truth, and it's the facts. And you're not interested in facts. You're not interested in reporting facts. So shut up. Stop pretending you are. Anyway, that brings us to our next story, which is about SCOTUS. SCOTUS hearing the things on ghost gun regulations. And this is going to be an interesting thing. This is an interesting thing on two different fronts. One, because we're talking about what defines a firearm, right? Ghost guns are basically, what they're talking about is home-built firearms. Is what they're talking about. There's no such thing as a ghost gun. They're home-built firearms, or people who want to build firearms at home. But we're also talking about government overreach, or in this case specifically, legislative or executive overreach into the legislative. Because the problem with these regulations is now they want to define things as guns that are not guns, right? And that's where a lot of this debate and this discussion is coming down to. Supreme Court today, they heard oral arguments relating to Biden's ghost gun rule. And I'll read a little bit of the article here for you. It says, a Supreme Court argument about the government's ability to ban so-called ghost guns took some unusual turns Tuesday as justices mused about grocery orders, Western omelets, and challenges of assembling IKEA furniture. By the end of oral arguments, it appeared that a rule the Biden administration issued 2 years ago, cracking down on the sale of often untraceable gun kits on the internet, would likely get enough votes from the justices to survive a challenge from makers of the products. The case prompted the justices to turn to real-world examples as they wrestled with the question of how to complete a firearm or frame or receiver of a gun must be before they are subject to a federal law that mandates background checks for purchases and the recording of serial numbers that can be used to trace the use of the weapons in crimes. Quote, is it the case that components that can easily be converted into something that constitute that thing before they are converted as a matter of ordinary usage? Justice Alito asked Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar, who argued in favor of preserving the ghost gun rule. Quote, I'm going to show you. Here's a blank pad and here's a pen, Alito said, holding up a yellow notepad in one hand and a pen in the other. Is this a grocery list? There are lots of things you could use these products for to create something other than a grocery list, Prelogar replied, prompting Alito to shift to another example to make his point that kits of parts to build a gun isn't necessarily a weapon. If I show you, I put out on the counter some eggs, some chopped up ham, some chopped up pepper and onions. Is that a Western omelet? Alito asked. Prelogar again said no, because even that collection of ingredients could have been used to make something else, while the parts kits at issue in this case have no other conceivable use. So you see what they're going after. Specifically what they're trying to address is the issue of the parts kits, right? Now, the thing is that these things are defined in law, right? A gun is defined in law. What they're attempting to do is they're attempting to redefine what constitutes a gun and then requires it to have to go through these things. And what Alito is referring to here, though, is another fundamental question, which has to do with, well, how do you define whether or not it's readily convertible? In other words, it's not quite a gun. So how do you determine when it is a gun? And this is a question that those on the anti-gun left have refused to answer. In fact, I had a chance to debate this very topic, I want to say something like 7 years ago, before the California legislature. And, well, here's how it went.
Thus rendering it readily convertible.
Okay, hold on. I got to go back to the beginning of the video. Let's see here. Is it not going to allow me to edit the video, to move the video around? Come on, you guys. Let me click on this again. I'm just having all sorts of issues with this, aren't I? Here we go. Let me go back to here. There we go. Okay, now it's ready to go.
I would ask the author once again, where would you like us on the shovel to put the serial number?
Okay, it keeps going there. I know what I got to do. I have to make a little change right over here. I'm sorry about this, folks. I should, let's see, recall. Don't want to recall the playback position. Okay, here we go. Now it'll work.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Craig DeLuz. I'm here on behalf of the Firearms Policy Coalition in opposition. Quite simply put, AB 1673 defines items as firearms that are not firearms. In fact, the term that is used specifically in here has to do with the term can be readily converted. And I'll give you an example. This here is a block of aluminum. The only thing that separates this from being a firearm and that item over there is a CNC machine and the experience to know how to use it. By definition, it is readily convertible, and I would ask the author, where would you like us to put the serial number? Also, this is an unfinished lower receiver for an AK-47. As you can see, with the exception of some holes and divots, it's not dissimilar from a piece of sheet metal that one would pick up at Lowe's, pick up at Ace Hardware, or would pick up at Home Depot. So I would ask the author, are we going to have stations at every one of these hardware stores and require them to actually serialize this, because this is in fact readily convertible. Finally, I distributed around an example. This is a blog post that I share with each and every one of your staff members. This is an example of an individual who took a shovel and converted it into an AK-47. As you can see, he didn't use sophisticated tools. He simply used the resources that were available to him, thus rendering it readily convertible. I would ask the author once again, where would you like us on the shovel to put the serial number? This bill is grotesquely vague. And I believe that even the language that is being proposed to replace it is additionally vague. In fact, your own consultant said that it is so vague that it might be rendered by the courts void for vagueness. All of that aside, the idea that if someone is going to go and commit a crime, they're going to manufacture a weapon, that they are going to put all of the ugly features that you deem to be assaulty or assault weapon features and put them on the firearm, and then, oh, by the way, we're going to go get a serial number, is in fact ludicrous.
So as you can see, just the idea that, a couple of things. Number one, you can't define it. And one of the reasons why they can't define it is because you don't have firearms experts who are writing these things. And that includes the folks over at the ATF. The problem is that for every person that they have that's writing one of these regulations, there are thousands of people sitting at a workbench that are going to try and figure out how to get around that law or how to comply with that law. Let me stop using their terminology is you're trying to get around it. My terminology is you're trying to comply with the law. Anyway, so you've got two issues here. One is you got to provide a definition as to what a firearm is, and then it tells us what bar we need to meet. Their problem is that they want to go after multiple different things. They want to just say, well, if we think it might possibly be a firearm, we should be able to require you to get a background check, and they're just not going to be able to do that. If the Supreme Court does anything, it's not going to ban or not going to allow you to require it for like 80% lowers. I don't think they're going to do that. They may for the parts kits, but then that just means that the people who sell the parts kits will just sell the parts separately. They will not sell them together because the parts separately are anything that you're looking to buy to repair your firearm. You're talking triggers, you're talking springs, you're talking... all of these various different things are all things that you may be looking to replace on your current firearm. So how are they going? They can say that they can ban the sale of it, or they can say that if you sell it all together, then yeah, it's constructive possession. Now you've got to get a background check, but they're not going to be able to do it for the sale of individual parts. Or at least I have a feeling, or I'm hoping that's the direction that they're going to go. That may require a little bit of technical expertise that may or may not exist on the Supreme Court. But I have more faith in this Supreme Court deciding it correctly. Like I said, when I say correctly, I mean, I could see them requiring a background check for the parts kits. But like I said, I think that'll have nothing to do with the sale of the parts individually. So anyway, very, very much looking forward to seeing what the outcome of that particular decision is going to be. All right, that brings us to our next story. We're going to go through this real quickly because we're running out of time. Netflix head backing Kamala Harris cost them millions. When I say millions, I mean not just millions of dollars, but millions of subscribers. That's right, Netflix. The head of Netflix actually came out back in July and announced not only on Twitter that he was endorsing Kamala Harris, but then he decided a couple of days later, he announced that, yeah, and I gave her a super PAC for Kamala, $7 million. Well, as a result, they saw their memberships plummet. They lost 2 million members. 2 million members. In a few days, they lost 2 million members because people are like, well, no, I don't want my money to go to supporting Kamala Harris. And if they make less money, then he makes less money. Folks, let's just be real. If you are the head of a major company and you decide you want to support a candidate, my suggestion, if you don't want it to affect your company, don't make it public. Or at least don't boast about it. And when you decide to boast about it, because here's the thing, you have every right. You have a right to contribute to the political candidates of your choice. And your customers have a right to decide that they're not going to partake or not going to give you any more of their money so that you can spend it supporting candidates like Kamala Harris. Now, I'm not one who's necessarily advocates for boycotts, but I do encourage people, use your dollars to vote your values, right? Put your money where your heart is. And there's nothing wrong with deciding, you know what, I don't want my money to go to Kamala Harris, so I'm not going to give my money to someone who is going to give it to Kamala Harris. I don't see anything wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And we're seeing now that the right is, they're learning. as we are getting options, other places that we can go, we're voting with our wallets. And I, for one, am happy to see it happening. All right. That brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. Our parting shots today are being brought to you by the Babylon Bee. Fake news that you can count on. It says here, 10 clever ways to smuggle humanitarian supplies past FEMA. Number 1, inform them you simply need to stock the boys' bathrooms with tampons. This is kind of aid FEMA can really get behind. Number 2, disguise all insulin as puberty blockers. Basic human necessity. That's right, because, them minors got to have them puberty blockers. Hire a team of Orthodox Jews from New York to dig an underground smuggling tunnel. It's entirely possible that that one already exists. Okay. Let's see. Carry a Donald Trump scarecrow with you. Just watch all the government employees flee in terror. Label the boxes. Kamala Harris ballots. Surely FEMA knows all voting precincts are waiting on a shipment of these. Create a diversion by having a meerkat or a warthog dress in drag and do the hula. Works every time. Okay. Oh, okay. I get it. Hakuna Matata. Right. Okay. Fly a Ukrainian flag from your supply boat. No self-respecting U.S. government worker wants to keep President Zelensky from getting his supplies. Number 9, put on a poncho, sombrero, and fake mustache so they won't stop you from going anywhere. Hola, ¿dónde está el huracán? Ooh, okay. Tell FEMA all supplies are for illegal immigrants. FEMA knows who gets priority when it comes to humanitarian supplies. Yes, in fact, they do. All right, folks, that brings us to the end of the program. And before we go, we're going to give another quick shout out to our sponsors. You got Hitman Industries, the place to go to get rifle and pistol caliber barrels, Glock barrels available for you as well at hitmanindustries.net. You got the California Republican Assembly, the conscience of the Republican Party, according to Ronald Reagan. Check them out at cragop.org. And then you got a Hog Holsters. You can find them at hogholsters.com, helping Americans wear guns. And then finally, you can find all things tactical, except the gun, at uscombatgear.com. And we're going to be done for today. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Hump Day, but until then, y'all have fun, stay safe, and if you get a chance, send a few downrange. We'll holler at you later.